Hey everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video, and today we're going to be doing my new DC 52 number ones countdown. Exactly what is that? Well, allow me to explain. What I'm going to do in this video is give you guys a countdown for all the number one issues for the DC relaunch that I have bought, which I believe is 29 issues, 28 or 29, around there. And what I'm going to do is give you guys a countdown with the comics that I like the least, working all my way up to the comic that I like the most. The issue number one that I enjoyed more than all the other issues. Now, this is an opinionated video. This isn't necessarily the issues that I thought were the best. These are just the ones that I like the most. So in it, there is no such thing as a wrong opinion or a right opinion. It's just my opinion. Although my opinion is quite superior to others. Just kidding. But you get the point. It's an opinionated video. I'm doing this just for fun. I will give you guys a brief description on what I like and what I didn't like about the comic, but it's going to be very brief because anything that I had opinion-wise about the comic, I already said in the review of it. So with that said, let's jump into this countdown. Starting at the bottom of the barrel would be Batman the Dark Knight. What can I say about this issue other than the fact that there's nothing to say about this issue? It didn't really impress me, but it really wasn't horrible. It was just forgettable. The comic really didn't do anything in any way to please me. And in a way, that's worse than doing bad. At least if a comic is horrible, I can say it's horrible. But this wasn't even horrible. It was just there, forgettable, and unnecessary. So, Batman the Dark Knight, sorry, you're at the bottom of the barrel. Moving on, next on the list would be Red Hood and the Outlaws, issue 1. This comic has so much potential to be good if it wasn't Red Hood and the Outlaws. If it was Red Hood and, let's say, Cassandra Cain, or Red Hood, Cassandra Cain, and Azrael, it would have been good. But the real problem with this is the portrayal of Starfire, who's portrayed as more of a slab of meat and a TNA for male readers than an actual character. The character falls downhill so much, it's just sad. And it's pretty sad when the most rewarding and nice character in your comic is Jason Todd. I love Jason Todd to death, but he's supposed to be a dick. And in this, he's actually the least dicky of them all. But Red Hood and the Outlaws just wasn't good. And the main reason was Starfire's mistreatment. Moving on would be Demon Knights, issue number 1. This is a comic that I was incredibly excited for, and the reason why it didn't get higher on my list is because the dialogue was just a little too, I don't know, jumping around for me. I don't know how I can explain it. It still was a good issue, it just had so much potential to be better. I feel as though issue 2 will be better, and it will get me more into the series, but until issue number 2, I'm going to have to keep this a little bit lower on the list. I still enjoyed Demon Knights, but it could have been a bit better. And let me just say, just because something's towards the bottom of the list doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It just means it wasn't quite my favorite. I mean, I do have 29 issues of stuff to go through. Next would be Mr. T. Mr. T was pretty good. It did everything the first issue should have done. Introduced the character, gave us a backstory, told us the motives, and gave us a plot. It just didn't wow me. That's the reason why it's a little bit lower. It just didn't wow me. By the way, if I post this up before I make my decision on the wildcard pick, just because, say, something like Mr. T is lower on the list, does not mean I won't be picking up this as my wildcard pick. Any of those wildcard picks are still valid until I actually make the decision, because I'm still being torn each which way with the 3 comics I picked up. But Mr. Terrific, it was good. Wasn't quite terrific, but it was good. Moving on would be, and my hair is going to get messed up in this, because I just got out of the shower, the Savage Hawkman. The reason why this is so low is because it wasn't a bad comic, it just didn't do anything I thought the Hawkman comic was going to do. Like, clean up the continuity for Hawkman, give us any establishment on where Hawkman is at his point in his life. I don't know anything about Hawkman before this. Is this Carter Hall and then it was a Kitar Hall? Was this coming out of Brightest Day? Is he still pissed off about Shira dying? I mean, exactly what is Hawkman's status before going into this? It was an okay issue, but it just didn't do anything that I wanted the issue to do. And that lines with Hawkman. Next would be Catwoman, issue number 1. Catwoman started off really good, but the problem with the issue is towards the end when her and Batman kind of go at it. Also, I reread it and I found out that it says that she doesn't know who Batman is. Really? Guess that means some stuff is no longer canon, like my second favorite Batman story, Heart of Hush. Anyways, as I looked at that scene again, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, but the problem I had with it is this. I think the real Manos said it best when it comes down to that sex scene, as it was, I have no problem with the two hooking up. Actually, I'm all for it. It just feels like I walked in on my dad and my mom doing it. It really was kind of awkward. The sex scene should have gone like this. Silhouette of the two going down on each other. Next morning, Batman putting his clothes on. There you go. I don't want to actually see them go at it. But hey, whatever. I expect issue number 2 to deal with this, and I feel a little bit better about issue 1, but it still could have handled that scene a little bit better. The start of it, though, was very nice. It started off with a bang, quite literally. Next on the list would be Stormwatch, issue number 1. Although the dialogue was a little jumping around and it wasn't quite as inviting to new readers, I do like Martian Manhunter in this, I do like Apollo, and I do like with a Midnighter. This is a strong contender for my Andrew Cutter wild card. I really like this, other than the fact that I didn't know, other than these 3 characters, who anyone else was. And it was a little confusing. But hopefully it will get better as time goes on. But it was still an okay issue. Now we're moving on to the more mid-tier card stuff, the stuff that I liked but wasn't quite phenomenal. Green Lantern New Guardians. It was good. It established Kyle Rayner. It had an interesting plot. What can I say more than that? It just didn't wow me, but it still was pretty good. And I just realized that this right here isn't actually the reflection from my light. It's actually kind of a blur in the comic. Ha! Great comic cover, though. Great comic cover. Next is Batwing, issue number 1. The comic that most people said that they weren't going to pick up actually turned out to be very good. Other than the fact that the beginning ruins the ending a little, it was a good comic. As I look back on it, I am excited for issue number 2. Batwing was fun, the character is fun, and let's see where it goes from there, shall we? Next on the list would be Teen Titans issue number 1. This was actually doing a good job as an issue. It just abruptly ends. I know Justice League did that, but I think Justice League was just an overall better issue in introducing those characters. With this, it was kind of messy. It was a decent issue, though. It was better than Red Hood and the Outlaws for the writer, Scott Lobdell, but not quite as good as Superboy. I think the overall arc will read better in trade than it will in issue. But yes, Teen Titans issue number 1. And I really wish Ms. Martian gets back on the team, because I love Ms. Martian. Next is Birds of Prey. I was just surprised by Birds of Prey. All the characters that were introduced in this, mainly just Black Canary and Starlet, were good characters. I enjoyed this. I thought it had good action. It felt very safe, but it still was pretty good. So, Birds of Prey, issue number 1. And I'm just kind of going through these quickly to get to the top 5, because the top 5 are the ones I'm going to talk about the most. Batwoman issue number 1. Great art, good story. It was overall good and exactly what we wanted from an issue 1 of Batwoman. Did I say Batman? I meant Batwoman issue number 1. I'm just kind of... I woke up late today. Anyways, good issue. I want to see more from the second issue. A little bit more. It didn't quite wow me the way I thought it was. I thought it was going to be blown away, but it's still good. It's still really good. We'll see where issue number 2 takes us. I know I'm saying that for a lot of the stuff. Oh, look at this. Got the Superman curl going on there. But anyways, I know I'm saying that about a lot of the issues, but really, the issue number 2 is going to make or break the issue number 1. I think that's what I said to people. If you pick up a comic and you're unsure about the first issue, give it at least 3 issues, because then you'll know for sure whether or not you want the comic. Because the issue number 1 could suck, and then issue number 2 could really pull it out of the gutter. So next on the list was Supergirl. If I could define this as one word, it's safe. It's very good, but it's very safe. It doesn't do anything extraneous or new or wowing in that sense, but it was still a very good comic. It was just safe. and I'm interested to see where Kara goes, because Supergirl is a big contender as one of my favorite Superman family characters. I think I like Superman just about that much more, but I love Supergirl. So, good issue, just very safe. Okay, coming up next on the list would be Batman and Robin, issue number 1. As I look back on this, issue's getting a little bit better with each time I'm looking back on it. Decent story, decent interaction. This isn't Dick and Damien, this is Bruce and Damien, so it's going to be a completely different kind of creature when it comes down to the comic. But overall, it was good. It was good. A lot of these, the more I look back on, the more I reread them, the better they get, and this was pretty good. Okay. Moving on would be Batgirl, issue number 1. Great solid issue for Barbara Gordon. Not quite as opening and welcoming to new readers, and we don't get all the answers we need, but it's not like we need all those answers right away. We know she was Oracle, we know she was in the wheelchair for 3 years, and now she's Batgirl again. Good action, good character pushing, and good dialogue. The only thing I didn't like was how she froze up at the end, but other than that, it's pretty good. Batgirl, issue number 1. And I'm eager to see what happens to Barbara. Next is Action Comics, issue 1. This was a good comic. The thing is this. Grant Morrison's stories are better when you read all the stories. The first chapter is usually good, but it's not quite as good as the overall plot. It's like why Harry Potter chapter number 1 will be good, or Game of Thrones chapter number 1 will be good, or Heir to the Empire chapter number 1 is going to be good, but the whole entire book is better. This was a good first issue, but I think this will only get better as more issues come out. But it was still good. I still liked it. And I like the direction that they went with Superman. I like how it's kind of incorporating some of the Golden Age stuff too, and modernizing the Golden Age. Next on the list would be Superboy, issue number 1. Great new take on Superboy. I really like the direction that they're going with him. I just liked it. I think Scott Lobdell did a very good job at this. That's why I'm raising my eyebrow a bit when he did Red Hood and the Outlaws, and it really wasn't good at all. But Superboy, issue number 1, fun, enjoyable. Moving on. Okay, here's one that went higher than I thought it was going to on this list. But I'm glad that it did impress me, and that would be Justice League Dark. I understand why they call it Justice League. It's more or less for brand naming, but this was fun. This was enjoyable. For a Magic-based comic, I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people aren't big into the magic aspect of things, and they probably won't enjoy it as much as I did, but I am all about trying new things and going in and trying something different. And although I'm not necessarily, as comfortable in the magic aspect of comic books as I am in just the regular stuff, I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I would add the Spectre or Dr. Fate to the team, but other than that, this was good. This was good. It was good. I'm eager to see what happens next with it. Next is Swamp Thing number 1. Swamp Thing is a character that I know almost nothing about other than the crossovers that I've seen, and Batman Brave and the Bold, Volume 1 through 3 for the Showcase Presents trades. Which is fine, because going into this, I'm glad to have a blank slate. I know a lot of people are saying, get the Alan Moore stuff, but I'm not getting the Alan Moore stuff. I'm going to go from here and move onward. Scott Snyder does a good job at introducing this character, and although it doesn't feel like a lot happens, a lot does happen. So, Scott Snyder, good job. You're making me like Swamp Thing. Flash, issue number 1. Good issue. I reread it last night with my girlfriend. Was it last night? It was last night. Because my girlfriend said she would read 3 comics with me per this relaunch, and this was one of them. And it was a good issue. Like I said, it didn't blow me away, but it was still a good first issue, and I'm eager to see where we go from with Barry Allen from here. So, Flash, issue number 1. Next on the list is Green Lantern, issue number 1. And see this little single right there? The kind of the anime style, like, sweat thing? That's on all the issues. I thought that was just a mess up on mine. But, Sinestro was great in this. Hal was great in this. What can I say? I just want to see them two work together as partners. as Green Lanterns. That would be great. But good first issue. I'm just kind of going through this. I mean, I don't know really what to say other than that when it comes down to that stuff. Next is Superman issue number 1. This issue was the best of the Superman issues in my opinion. Is the current day Superman. It still feels like Superman. He's different though, which is fine. Trying something a bit new. And, you know, as much as I would like him and Lois to be together, the thing is you know, Linkara was talking about this when he did his That's All I'm Saying, and he said this. Two things. One is, it's not like the marriage was handled the way it was in Spider-Man when they dissolved it. Like the devil and all that stuff. It was just part of the reboot. The relaunch. Second thing is, the only one that's there for Clark is Lois. No one else is for Clark. That's it. So, by hook or crook, they're going to get back together anyways. But that's what Linkara said, and I kind of agree with it on that. Superman issue number 1 had good action in it, and I'm really just digging this comic. Digging it. So, moving on. Yes. How far? Okay. We're actually in the top 10. So, next would be Detective Comic issue number 1. Tony Daniels surprised me on this, on how good the story was. I liked how the Joker was a little bit more of a threat, a little bit more than just, you know, being a psychological enemy to Batman. He could actually hold his own against Batman. And the shocking twist ending really has me excited for issue number 2. So, Detective Comics issue number 1, good. And we're going to be in the top 5 soon, but Justice League International issue number 1. Boy, did this comic get it right. The cast of characters are good. The plotting was good. The pacing of the comic was good. Everything worked out in this very nicely. If you were not satisfied with how Justice League issue number 1 came off, Justice League International will please you on how it was structured, how you get all the characters right at once, and then you get action, and then a good character development. I saw preview pages for issue 2, and it just makes me want to get the issue more and more. So we're in the top 5. Let me just pull these out here. And I'll try to go through these as quickly as I can because we're going into 18 minutes soon. Number 5 would be Justice League number 1. This issue would have been higher if it wasn't meant to be the issue to introduce us into the new DC 52. If it was just Justice League number 1, it would have been fantastic. If it was just another issue in the DC 52, it introduced some characters, it introduced plot, it's good setup, and it will read better when the story was continued. It's just as an introduction to the new DC universe, not quite as good. It's still a 5-star comic, though. I still really enjoyed this. It's pretty sad that we won't get issue number 2 till October. Oh wait, it's going to be October soon. Yeah, but that came out in August, so you get what I'm saying? Next would be, on number 4 would be Nightwing issue number 1. I was really concerned on how they were going to handle Dick Grayson after you know, him returning to being Nightwing from being Batman, but they handled him pretty well. I like the new costume. I know a lot of people are complaining about it, but I like how it incorporates the red, which reminds me of Robin, incorporates the blades, which remind me of Batman, and it's still basically Nightwing, it's just a few color changes. But the story was good, it handled very nicely, and I'm glad that Nightwing is a top contender in the DC universe. Because everyone's starting to realize that Dick Grayson is the man. What was that? Number 4, number 3, Aquaman issue number 1. This blew me away. Great action in the beginning. Told us what we need to know about Aquaman. And it really kind of handled the issue on how everyone thinks Aquaman a joke. But he's not a joke. He's the man. He's Aquaman. Great first issue. If you had any hesitation about reading Aquaman, don't. You will enjoy this issue. I don't know who this guy is, Jeff Johns. He must be new to the company, but he knows what he's doing. Anyways, next would be the number 2 comic, and I'm sure you know what the last 2 are. Number 2 would be Wonder Woman issue number 1. I'm so happy Wonder Woman's back to her roots. Granted, she's not quite where my favorite Wonder Woman was, which was the George Perez and the Greg Rucka, which she was just a diplomat and ambassador. We have more of a warrior Wonder Woman. It works out fine. The story has great setup and mystery, and I know it's Apollo. I thought it was Ares in the beginning, but I know it's Apollo. I reread it, but good first issue. Great fighting in this. And the art is absolutely beautiful. It actually makes Wonder Woman look like a Greek woman. Hey, instead of a generic regular woman. I know someone said that before, but I agree with it. It's still beautiful art. Issue number 1 of Wonder Woman blew me away. But of course, you guys probably figured out what my number 1 issue that I enjoyed the most, and that would be, of course, Batman issue number 1. Not just because Batman's my favorite character, but because this comic rocked my socks off. Look, I don't have socks on because this rocked my socks off. This comic was great. All the stuff with Batman is still in continuity, except for apparently Catwoman doesn't know his identity. That's Catwoman's part of him, not ours. Great comic. Introduced what we needed to know about the Batman family. If you're new, read into this. Good action in the beginning, good setup in the middle, and good ending in the end. So overall, it was a great issue. I reread this issue because I bought a second copy so I can have 2, just in case. You never know. You never know. But it was a great issue. It really was. So it's my number 1 comic for the new DC 52. So with that said, those are my top picks. What are yours? What are your top picks for the DC New 52? I'm interested to hear. I'm interested to know what you guys think. Again, this is very opinionated, but that's what I believe are my favorite comics for the 52 in order, blah, blah, blah. So with that said, I'm going to end this video here. This is Andrew saying peace out for now.